Hello everyone, Digfig here and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you my Moze build. Hopefully I'm saying that right because everyone makes fun of me for saying it Moz, but it's Moze. Now in the background here there is some footage playing of me blowing up everything in Mayhem Mode 3 in the Circle of Slaughter versus all the creatures. You guys can see here, this build is absolutely freaking ridiculous. I think it's the most OP build in the game. Probably, it's also the most lazy build in the game and just insanely easy to build and start to scale off. If it does require a little bit of gear, specifically a singular piece, which you can find in trading forums and other places like that if you really have a hard time getting it. But again, just look behind me guys, everything is being deleted with ease. You just hit one key on your keyboard and everything dies and you're more or less invincible. Not 100% invincible, but more or less. But anyways guys, let's get right into this. Now we're going to start with what gear we have on this character, but first I want to say the whole point of this build is to just throw grenades non-stop at everything. You do not shoot things that often in this game, and you definitely do not reload with this build. Now, what gun do I use the absolute most in this is an infinity pistol, and if I had this in all 4 elements, or just 4 different elements, to be honest, it would probably be in every single slot here. Because we'll get into it later, but reloading actually really hurts this build. Now, the most important, crucial, critical part of this build is a good grenade. I personally love the Hex grenade, and you need it in recurring, and it is the most OP thing I have seen in this game so far. You just raffle stomp the game, you laugh at it, you don't have to put any effort or work into it. But the recurring makes this thing splits into 2 grenades in flight, and it spawns 3 MIRVs, which just makes so many grenades so fast. It is absolutely insane. Can this build work with other grenades? Probably, but this is the one we've used. We've tested a lot of grenades, and by far, this is the best one I have ever found. Now, if you guys like something else, let us know in the comments so we can all try and learn and figure it out. But what about this grenade and where do you get it? This grenade is quite hard to find. It's an open world drop as far as I can tell. Now, I recommend the trading forums and trading other places for this thing if you really can't get it to drop for you, because it is an absolute crucial part of this build and you need to have it. This grenade can drop in every single element type. I've seen it in most of them. I personally have a radiation, electric, and cryo. I prefer the cryo because it freezes everything, it's CC, it adds to your survivability, and it makes just the whole game really easy for you and your friends, and you can carry pugs with this thing all day because everything's just frozen. It can't even fight back. It is just so good. Now for the shield, you can kind of run whatever you want. I run stopgap just to help increase my survivability. Like I said, we're kind of invincible, and we more or less are. This is just to basically guarantee it, especially with the way we have our traits set up. Now for the class mod, we run the Blaster Master. Now why do we run this? It is because the longer mods goes without reloading, the more splash damage you deal, splash damage up to 100%. Now, there are a bunch of people that run the one that when you get healed, it would go to your shields instead, and they run like 80,000 shields and they feel absolutely invincible. But again, you're already more or less invincible with this. Very rarely do you die, and very rarely can you not get yourself back up, especially if you're in a group. You are just ridiculously powerful. So why would you just make yourself more invincible, more tanky, when you could just do way more damage? When damage kills things faster and helps, I prefer the damage over the shield one. As for the bonuses on this thing, you're really going to want to do AoE damage or grenade damage or something like that. Mine doesn't have them, but it has like almost perfect traits rolled on it, so that's why we're keeping this one in. Now, as for your artifact, this is one of the primary reasons this build is kind of haven't come out for so long and people have been asking for it. It's because I can't find a good one. I want something in the actual legendary bracket that helps my build. This one, again, doesn't help it at all whatsoever, but it does have an area of effect damage plus 33%, and it does have the top thing versus frozen since I'm using a ice grenade, cryo efficiency plus 50% and plus 35 damage. This just helps me freeze things even more. It gets absolutely ridiculous. Like the whole map can be frozen. You can see in the quick footage at the beginning, everything is just frozen and you do tons of damage to it. But you're just going to be looking for an artifact that has elemental damage on it, preferably cryo in my case, which I don't have here. Then area of effect damage will be the 2 perks you want, because this build is just more and more damage. You want to stack the damage on your grenade, make it ridiculous as fast as possible. Now that's all the gear we've talked about, so now we're going to go into our talents here. As you guys can see, we have absolutely nothing in the bottomless mag tree, but we're not going to talk about that one first. We're going to talk about the critical things in this build, and that is the demolition woman tree. First, you're going to want to start off up here with 5 points in fire in the skag den, and this is the trait I was talking about that scales really well with our class mod, because I'm using a cryo grenade, and sometimes you get guys that are resistant to cryo. bam, now they're taking incendiary damage on top of that. So no matter what, I can still damage them even if it's slightly slower, but I still do have the ability to kill them. And then vice versa, if I'm fighting something that's immune to fire, this isn't going to be doing much, but the cryo grenade is going to rip them apart. So it just synergizes really well with the build. And the hex grenade, like I said, triggers this ability, and it's really powerful. It adds tons of damage. It's almost this is a must-have. Next, you're going to want 3 points in means of destruction. This is an absolutely must-have talent. This is a critical talent for this build. The 6% chance to return a grenade on splash damage dealt is crazy. And like I said, those hex grenades count as splash damage, and it's just infinite freaking damage numbers. It's just a huge wall of spam. So you're basically just infinitely getting grenades back. And as long as you're managing them, and if you ever start to get low, if you just start to not just spam them infinitely, you won't run out. And as long as you're not just mindlessly hucking grenades like I do sometimes when you run out, because there's not even an enemy left on the screen, you just the build's way too easy, and you own things too hard that you just kind of lose track of what you're doing. But must have, absolutely have to have points in this one, hands down, no questions asked. And then you're going to want 5 points in the Torg Cross Promotion. Wow, I can't say this talent's name. Torg Cross Promotion. I got it. This doubles all your splash. This has a chance to double all of your splash damage when everything in this build does is splash damage, and why not make it bigger, you know? Next, you're going to want 3 points in to pull the Holy Pin. This is another super important perk for this build. Why? Because it's your damage, and critical hits in this game do so much more than other things. We have actually farmed for class mods specifically to have one that gave us +3 to this trait, because it's just so important to this build and the damage you do. You can see here that when you have +6 in it, you get 60% critical hit chance, which is just a massive increase in your damage. Now for the Vampire talent, you're going to want at least 2 points in this. Now I see tons of builds that put all 5 points in here. They swear by it. They say it's an absolute must-have. But with this hex grenade, that is completely overkill. You are invincible with just 2 points in this grenade. My class mods adds a third here, which will just take the added bonus. But let's read this real quick. Whenever Moze damages an enemy with a thrown grenade, for every single enemy hit, she restores a portion of her missing health. Now you've seen how we hit enemies with these hex grenades. It's just like blah 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 blah, just spam. That's what it does to your HP. Now, the hex grenades plus this do break. Sometimes you don't regen HP. You have to get in and out of your mech or pick up a health thing, or just the amount of health it's supposed to be giving back to you. Sometimes you just break the game with this, but it does work 99% of the time. It is so OP. Your health can just ping pong up and down infinitely. But we have rechanged this build to where it relies a lot more on shields, and this is just like literally a safety blanket to keep you alive. Now you're going to want 1 point into the To The Last. This is another super critical talent for this build. Why? You can throw grenades when you're in fight for your life, which is when you're crawling around on the ground. Now, I say you're invincible. You're not always. You'll actually kill yourself sometimes if you're not playing the smartest, because the AoE damage on your own grenades really hurts. But being able to throw these in the down state with the hex grenades, auto seeks out enemies, as long as there's an enemy on the field, you are more or less guaranteed to get back up. Very rarely is there ever an enemy left on the field, unless they're an invincible anointed, that I can't get myself back up if for whatever reason I screw up and go down. Just super nice to have. You feel super safe with this thing. Now, I should mention here, your mech doesn't freaking matter. Put whatever you want on your mech. I never use the mech. I almost never get in it. We never shoot guns in this thing, and it's fine. So this tree is crucial to this build. This is the only thing that matters for this build, is this single tree. If you have Pull the Pin, Vampire, and Means of Destruction, you are golden. You ruffle stomp the game. And these 3 talents, nothing else super matters. I did forget to mention, so my bad. And you're going to want 3 points, and why can't I carry all of these grenades? Just to have more grenades, just as a backup, just to make sure you definitely never ever run out, even though the odds of running out is very low. But I do accidentally throw away too many when there's no enemies left, because I kind of zone out. So having 3 extra doesn't hurt anyone. I almost forgot those talents. I'm a terrible person. Now for the Shields of Retribution tree. Now, I used to run this build with the bottomless mag tree where you could just shoot forever. You didn't have to worry about anything. You could do tons extra damage yourself, but you were way squishier and died a lot more. And to be honest, this build is about throwing grenades. That's all you need to do, is have the talents we just talked about, and you just infinitely hit the G key. One thing we always wish there was more for this build was a faster grenade throwing animation, so you could just throw more and more grenades faster and faster, because really the only limit to this build is how fast you can throw the grenades. And shooting means you're not throwing grenades, so you shouldn't be shooting. So we actually removed all of our points from that tree and threw them all into the Shields of Retribution just to increase our survivability. Our shields reset now. This has changed this game a whole bunch. It makes you so much tankier and just able to take so much more punishment, and then in turn you can just deal out so much more. You can play carefree and just have a really good time. Now we have 5 points in Armored Infinity. Why? Because damage reduction. You become tankier. Now we have 5 points in Vault Integrity. Why? Because you get 30% max shield and shock damage resistance. Again, this is just all about tankiness. I want to be flying through these because in all honesty, all you need is that one page, and then you can do whatever you want with the rest of your talents. Go have fun with it. The build is super OP with just those 3 talents. You can combine any of these other talents in any other way. Now we actually have 5 points in Drowning in Brass. You might ask why. Well, I like to join groups, I like to join pug groups, and I like to play in groups. So here we go. This actually gives this buff to your entire team because you're not supposed to be shooting. So you can actually just buff your whole team and really help out everyone on your team do more damage and feel like they suck even less compared to you. Now we have 1 point in Full Can of Whoop Ass. Why? Because you can still use your Iron Bear as an oh shit button. It gives you tons of extra HP. This will help you regen. It'll also help your allies if you want to act slightly in a support role. Just overall, it's a good oh shit button to have with your giant mech. And now we have 1 point in Experimental Munitions. Why? Because holy crap, does this synergize really well with that crit grenade and the hex and that crit talent. Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful synergy. Just extra % 10 incendiary damage, just tack it on top to do more damage. We have 3 points in Behind the Iron Curtain. Why? Again, just tankier. It's all about the tank. Just let you raffle stomp the game. Now we have 4 points in the Phalanx Doctrine. I really had a hard time saying that talent. Why do we only have 4 in here? So we can get to the bottom of the tree, and this one isn't super important. It just adds a little bit more tank when you're killing things. The gun damage is kind of like whatever, who cares, but you can sometimes get this thing up to like 20-25 stacks with the Moze, which is just really powerful. Now force feedback, we've got 1 point in this. I'm going to say this is another critical thing to this build, especially with that shield that every time it runs out to 0 you get 5 seconds of vulnerability. Basically guaranteed to always have a shield recharge with this, and that thing triggers all the dang time. But whenever Moze scores a critical hit, her shield immediately begins recharging, and my grenades have a 60% critical hit chance, and they just spam damage on enemies. So you're basically always getting shield regen. Super important perk, super nice. But again, you don't need any of these. The critical part of this is those 3 talents that are listed in the last one. Now, for the final point, we have Tenacious Defense. Why? Again, it's just tankier. So you have infinite shield regen. You got a shield that makes you invulnerable when your shield breaks. And now, whenever your shield breaks, it instantly goes back up and then drains again and gives you back bonus to make you invincible again. Just synergizes all so well with this shield, with the build. I really prefer this build over going the bottomless mag route, but again, it's your playstyle. You can do it as you wish. Now this build, I have to give credit to Crazy. He's a friend of mine. I've been playing with him ever since we played APB Reloaded, like at launch together, so we've known each other a really long time. He rolled Moze on launch, I rolled Flak. We actually swapped because we were gonna do alternatives. And he's been min-maxing the crap out of this build. It's insane. I got some of his hand-me-down gear, actually, to be honest. And some of these recurring hexes are just extras that he has. So again, I have to give a huge shout out to him and huge props for making this build. He loves breaking games, and this build broke the freaking game. Now, I hope I did a good enough job explaining this build and everything. If I missed anything, or if you guys can see any improvements or min-maxing, let me know in the comments down below, and just have a good discussion about it overall. Now, I think I'm going to put the rest of that Circle of Slaughter at the end of this video after I completely do my outro. So if you want to see more of the gameplay of this thing before you decide if you're going to invest or try trading for some of this gear, you can just check out the very end of the video. But anyways, guys, I always appreciate you being here. It means so much. The support is amazing. Hopefully this build is good enough for you. Hopefully this build video takes off. I'm pretty sure I'm a little late to the game on this one, but I kind of wanted to at least min-max it a little and play it a little bit more, so I understood it a little better because it isn't my build. Like I said, I love it. It's actually probably going to become my main from now on, but I have to give credit to Crazy again. If you like this video, think about subscribing, hitting the bell button, liking, commenting, being civil. I have lots of videos about Borderlands 3 and other games on this channel, educational. There's going to be a playlist appearing above me. It should be item overviews for legendaries. I have like 80 plus of them done right now, and that's just going to keep on growing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Digfig! Enjoy the gameplay, guys.